You know, when you think about World War II, it's easy to picture these epic battles, right? Generals huddled over maps. But the real story, the day-to-day story of the war, was also written in kitchens, in factories, and in little town halls. So today, we're going to be detectives. We're going to decode that hidden history just by following the clues that people left behind.
I mean, sure, facts and figures can tell us what happened. But how do we get a feel for the daily reality for millions of people? How do we connect with the anxiety, the sacrifice, and that incredible sense of shared purpose that really defined the entire home front?
And that's the real challenge, isn't it? It's one thing to know the facts, but it's a whole other thing to understand the human experience behind all the headlines. How do we close that massive gap between then and now?
Well, the truth is, people from that time left us a trail of breadcrumbs. They left clues in these simple, everyday items that, if you just look a little closer, tell an absolutely powerful story. We just have to learn how to read them.
So that's what we're doing here. We're putting on our historical detective hats. We're going to learn how to take these totally ordinary pieces of paper and read them imaginatively to unlock the entire world they came from.
Now, the official term for these clues is primary sources. And that's just a fancy way of saying things like letters, diaries, photos, or even government forms. These aren't textbooks written 50 years later. They are real, authentic artifacts from the time, made by the people who were actually there. They are our direct line to the past.
Okay, first up in our case file, the ration book. This little booklet basically dictated what a family could buy and how much of it. Everything from sugar to gasoline. It's a tangible piece of evidence of this nationwide shared sacrifice.
Next up, clue number 2, a volunteer registration card. This shows that the war effort wasn't just about soldiers. It took a massive mobilization of everyday people to do everything from watching for air raids to collecting scrap metal. Everyone was involved.
And our third clue is a blackout order. This is a public notice telling an entire city how to act during an air raid drill. And it's a pretty chilling reminder that for so many people, the threat of an attack felt very, very real.
All right, let's really zoom in on our first piece of evidence. It's time to open case file number 1, the ration book. And just look at this detail. This isn't just any old ration book. It belonged to a real person, a 53-year-old man who worked as a maintenance machinist. Right away, this abstract historical idea becomes personal. This was his. He had a real life, a real job.
So how do we decode this thing? It's a simple 3-step process. First, we just observe. What are we actually looking at? The stamps, the name, the rules. Then we ask questions. Why did this exist? Who made it for who? And finally, we draw inferences. What does this one little document tell us about the entire world it came from?
So when we do that, this one little book tells a huge story. It shows this massive level of government control over the whole economy. It proves the war wasn't some far-off event. It literally hit every single family's dinner table. And it reveals this whole system that was built on the idea of shared, equal sacrifice for a common cause. Okay, let's grab our next clue and see how the story builds. Now we're going to look at life on a community level. Welcome to case file number 2, the blackout. What we have here is an official order from the city of White Plains, New York. And this isn't some friendly suggestion either. It's a list of strict, non-negotiable rules for every single citizen during a blackout. The details are just incredible.
Just listen to this language. All lights are to be either extinguished or so dark-screened that no lights show through. It's so specific, it covers everything from homes to factories. I mean, that level of detail really shows you just how seriously they took this threat.
So what can we pull from that? Well, this one order speaks volumes. It points to a real pervasive fear of attack, even somewhere like New York. It shows an incredible amount of civil defense organization, and it highlights the power that local air raid wardens had. This wasn't just a community, it was a society totally organized for survival.
So far, we've looked at documents that are pretty heavy on the text. But what about images? For case file number 3, we're diving into the power of visual persuasion and how, sometimes, a picture needs just a few perfect words to change everything.
The home front was absolutely flooded with propaganda posters. And these weren't just art. They were very carefully designed tools of communication. They were meant to get people to buy war bonds, or to conserve food, or to discourage things like careless talk that might accidentally help the enemy.
But the real power was in how the text and the image worked together. See, an image by itself can give you a general feeling, patriotism, duty, maybe fear. But then you add a few powerful words, a direct call to action, and it focuses that feeling into a specific thing they want you to do. The text tells the emotion where to go.
Okay, so we've looked at our clues one by one. But the real magic, the real aha moment, happens when we start putting them all together. This is where all these little scattered fragments start to form a really clear picture of a whole society at war.
So take a look at this. On the left, you've got a newspaper editorial from 1944, and it's warning about critical manpower shortages. Then on the right, there's that volunteer form we saw earlier. When you see them side by side, they tell a complete story. Here is the problem, and here is the solution. The editorial spells out the national crisis, and that form shows the grassroots effort to solve it.
And that's really the heart of it all. The ration book, the blackout order, the volunteer form, none of them tell the whole story on their own. But when you put them together, they weave this rich, complex, and deeply human tapestry of what it was actually like to live through that time.
And you know, this kind of detective work isn't just for historians. The skill we just practiced, looking at a source, questioning it, and then comparing it with other things to see the bigger picture, that skill is more critical now than it has ever been. It's the foundation of media literacy, the tool we all need to make sense of the flood of information we face every single day.
Which really brings us to one last thought. 100 years from now, when historians try to understand our world, what clues will they find? What will our emails, our social media posts, our thousands of digital photos say about us? What primary sources are we leaving behind for them to decode?